In a manner of speaking, parents are killed by their children. The day you become a parent, you forfeit your own life if ever necessary. Your priorities are the safety and preservation of that child, your own well-being second. This pivot in perspective is what ultimately ends you. All your efforts are put into them because you love them unconditionally. But of course, not all parents are like that.
I'll laser every fucking one of you!
Omni-Man aka Nolan Grayson is the superheroic dad to the titular character of Prime Video's Invincible, otherwise known as Mark Grayson. But Mark and his human mother Debbie have no idea of the truth behind Omni-Man until it is too late. Far too late.
Dad?
Nolan is not who he has claimed to be. His origins as a native of the planet Viltrum have always been known, but the Viltrumites' true purpose has been obscured by Nolan until the events of the season finale. The Viltrumite people are not sent out across the stars to nurture and protect, they are sent to conquer. Omni-Man is not a superhero, he's a scout, sent to boil the planet so that the Viltrumite Empire can absorb it.
But we can help them. We can stop wars, eliminate hunger, give them medical technology centuries ahead of what they have now.
Mark has spent the first 17 years of his life thinking he is the son of a superhero. As his father beats him mercilessly just to prove a point, he realises he's the heir to an empire. Nolan has always had dark intentions for the boy who would be invincible. The archetype of the Dark Father offering up the keys to the Empire, expecting their child to inherit their power and, more importantly, their way of looking at things, has been a pop culture staple for years.
Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
How is this story told through the lens of Mark, his dad, and the messed up world of Invincible? By comparing and contrasting their relationship with that of another evil soup and his son appearing on Prime Video, Homelander and Ryan Butcher, we can eliminate the why behind Nolan Grayson's dramatic turn. What does Omni-Man believe in, truly? Does he love Mark like a father? And if so, what are his own definitions of love? Maybe Nolan cares for Mark, but across the series we come to understand that Omni-Man's view of kindness, compassion, and responsibility is seriously warped. Both Omni-Man and Homelander play the role of the loving father, but it is often performative. The cliches like playing catch are what is important to them, ticking off the hallmark card moments. This is because their devotion to their sons is not rooted in selfless love, but their own arrogance and self-importance.
Son, kids your age think they're invincible, and it holds them back, makes them careless. The thing is, you're different. You actually are invincible.
Ryan. You and me. We're gods.
Homelander and Omni-Man don't want to see their sons achieve their supposed destinies because they want to see them flourish and experience the things they do. They do what they do because to see Mark and Ryan attain their levels of power would be to immortalise them. Homelander and Omni-Man see themselves and their legacies in their sons, or more accurately, their successors.
Ryan, this is a good thing.
Mark, this is good news.
Homelander wants to make sure Ryan becomes a god free of any oversight, and Omni-Man wants Mark to become an interstellar conqueror. Like them, to achieve these goals would be to placate their fathers. It has nothing to do with their own individual desires. The difference between Homelander and Omni-Man is that the latter sees every action he takes as justified. Love is not a motivator for him, he is driven by a sense of duty to his planet and their heritage. A heritage soaked in blood and colonial overtones.
My dad and I, we never played catch in the yard with a World Series ball. Truth is, I never had a dad. Or a mom.
Homelander thinks he does right by Ryan as a genuine human father. He thinks he is being loving in his own twisted way. He only acts the way he does because he has no idea what a healthy childhood is. Homelander might be toxic to his son, but he can only work within the boundaries of what he thinks love is, an incredibly limited and twisted understanding of love. Nolan's ways are twisted only from a human perspective. On his own planet, everything he says is rooted in a centuries-old doctrine.
These are my people!
We have a responsibility to Viltrum.
I don't give a shit about Viltrum!
He has no qualms with the morality of what he is asking Mark to do. He makes no attempts to talk to Mark like a loving dad here. There is no pretense. Mark is his soldier, his second in command, his warrior legacy. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Omni-Man, you're making Homelander look like a better father. That is seriously messed up. In both narratives, the women involved are undervalued and serve their purpose only as mothers to rear the child until their fathers can finally be bothered to show a true interest in them.
She's more like a pet to me.
Homelander waltzes into Becca Butcher's life and just thinks he can take Ryan whenever he wants. And Omni-Man spent a lifetime only vaguely pretending to be interested in the human side of Mark, waiting patiently for the Viltrumite plan to unfold.
Guess who's finally getting his powers?
Oh, that's great, son, just great.
Neither Homelander nor Omni-Man care for the lives of the women they share a child with. In spite of both Becca and Debbie being smart, capable characters, they are merely a means to an end in the eyes of these dark fathers. This folds back into the idea that Ryan and Mark represent both men's self-importance. Their mothers cannot bend steel or fly or save the world directly, so they are practically invisible to Homelander and Omni-Man. They are coded by their worth. How useful are they in the given moment to furthering Homelander and Omni-Man's personal objectives? If you're thinking, well, Homelander does clearly care for his son meeting and interacting with mother figures, since he tries to make Stormfront his new stepmom for Ryan. Oh, how sweet. Well, that is true, but Stormfront is really merely an extension of Homelander in this setup. He only agrees to be one big happy family because he thinks that Stormfront represents the power and unbridled control the Vought Soup has. She can further convince Ryan, show him her power, and in turn show him his power.
What's wrong?
Boy deserves to know the truth.
This is all for Homelander. If Becca was the mother to raise Ryan, Homelander tries to introduce Stormfront as his drill sergeant. He uses women to mould his son in ways he cannot, yet still ignorantly believes he is the only person Ryan truly needs. Omni-Man is much the same. Now that Mark knows their true purpose, it's as if Debbie never contributed to his upbringing at all. She is likened to a pet. In Nolan's eyes, she is lesser than him, worthless. Nolan is very smart with his words when he plays the part of superhero and saint. He's not technically lying here, but when we recontextualize it alongside that pet comment, this just becomes gross and self-serving. Omni-Man sees Mark's mother as a plaything to keep him amused, someone to entertain him during his time on Earth, and also to bear his successor. His aggressive reaction to her questioning his training makes a lot more sense now.
Are you questioning me?
To pompous and arrogant Omni-Man, this is the equivalent of your cat telling you to take the bins out. Invincible's mother Debbie has the hardest job. She shares all the pain of the betrayal just as Mark does, but is left without the power to do anything about it. Mark might not be strong enough to take on his dad right now, but he can learn to stop him. He can reach some sort of catharsis there. He has a purpose, something to distract him from the pain of all those lies, and more than that, Mark will never have to know what it is like to receive that man's love and then subsequently be seen as lesser than him. Even if he and Mark disagree about the Earth, Omni-Man still sees Invincible as invincible. He's a Viltrumite in his blood, and blood matters a whole lot to Omni-Man. Debbie, on the other hand, has no value and no worth to him now that the cat is out of the bag. She can't shout at him, hurt him, or even be free of him. Omni-Man's presence is a threat to everyone on Earth. There's nowhere she can ever run to where the fallout of her marriage won't find her.
But I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, and I'm the only one of us who can't fly.
Nolan humiliates Debbie in front of Cecile and everyone in the control room when he tells Mark just how little he values her, and yet she stays focused on the same thing as everyone else, stopping him. Mark gets the spirit of Invincible from Debbie. The interactions of the Grayson family across the entire season prove just how ignorant and obsessed with blood and heritage Omni-Man is. Debbie and Mark prove that their minds and their perspective can more than hold up to Nolan's, in spite of his powers and extended lifespan. Omni-Man. The comparison to a pet is astronomically flawed. Debbie and Mark aren't creatures that need to have their bowls changed, they are not helpless without Nolan, and they are more than capable of every single emotion, breakthrough and feat of will that Omni-Man has ever or will ever hold in his 1,000-year lifespan. Nolan distinguishes them based on their race and nothing else. Mark just got lucky by being half Viltrumite. His dad's capacity for love would have been the same as it is for his human wife had things gone differently.
Viltrumite DNA is so pure, you're nearly full-blooded.
So if I wasn't, I'd just be one more human to conquer?
The only concept of purity comes from their strength. Nolan is a supremacist. The Nazi parallels may not be as pronounced as the boy's blonde-haired, blue-eyed soup, who dates a literal Nazi, but the undertones are still clearly present in Omni-Man's mantra.
You know, I remember the first time I was in a crowd.
Probably didn't bother you.
I was terrified. All these people staring at me and reaching out, trying to grab me and egging me on to use my powers. I felt like I was drowning.
Homelander's Season 2 arc is tragic because even though he lies and manipulates his son, the longer he spends time with him, the more Ryan's good-natured heart rubs off on him. We see the potential he might have had in another life to be an emotionally intelligent and stable person.
You cry?
Yes.
The tragedy is that his upbringing and trauma has shaped him and turned him into a monster from which there is seemingly no redemption. He has glimmers of humanity, but always returns to the comfort of his controlling, abusive, and monstrous ways. Omni-Man is not shaped by any cruel businessmen who sought to extort him and mould him as they saw fit. He comes to Earth as a premeditated attack that spans decades. He knowingly and willingly lies to everyone, including his own wife and son, and when his deception is finally out in the open, he makes no effort to show a single shred of remorse or sadness or any trace of guilt. He is an alien in every sense of the word. Homelander is living each day to the next with no overarching plans. He is not an anarchist, in fact he requires order desperately, but he makes up his mind as he goes along. He is easily swayed, impulsive. Omni-Man might hold the same level of raw power, but his life is regimented, structured, without deviation. He will not stop until his objective is complete. And that's why Mark's dear old DAD's return is inevitable. In the meantime, the fledgling young superhero will continue becoming the man he thought his father was. Ryan and Mark have the potential to grow into good people, they will achieve their destinies, but not in their father's names. They will not be their legacies. If you'd like to check out more Invincible and the Boys analysis, then why not check out our previous videos. We've got character breakdowns on Starlight, A-Train, Homelander, Queen Maeve and more. We look at the way the show lampoons the cinematic superhero genre, Stormfront and Homelander's awful relationship, and much more. And if you enjoyed that epic little Guardians v Omni-Man fight at the crescendo of episode 1, then you might enjoy this little video where I go through the tropes of the superhero v superhero showdown. Every single episode of Invincible is live on Prime Video now, as well as Season 1 and 2 of The Boys.